Welcome to Portals of Perception, where we explore the humanity of living at the edge of discovery at these times of change. The focus of our conversation today is the human as a fountain of encouragement and hope. We want to sense into and reflect on the qualities of hope and encouragement, to explore what they are, and how those properties, those qualities, those essences, how they influence our lives. And this conversation is especially important today because we find ourselves through time of trial and challenge and tribulation all around the world. And also we find ourselves needing to search to find those properties of strength and confidence and the conviction that we can pick ourselves up and start again in the face of tremendous cynicism and derision and all sorts of impressions that come our way in life from all sorts of sources of media, essentially communicating that you are not good enough, that you are not smart enough, that you are not something else enough. And the essence of this conversation you're about to listen to and discover is a weave of experiences from teachers and parents and people who were touched and touched others in moments where all that was needed is a little bit of help with encouragement and hope, and how so central these qualities are in our lives. So by way of entering this, just earlier this week, I received a very brief video, as I do every day, of my granddaughter. She is now 19 months young, and she was playing with coloring, painting rocks. And then she got up and encouraged the family cat to join in the activity. Because for her, it was obvious that the cat would want to also paint some rocks. And I thought about it and I realized that she was teaching me and she was showing me that collaboration, kindness, encouragement, those are properties that are naturally arising in the human. They're really not trained behaviors, in the sense that in a healthy environment, these qualities would naturally arise with all of us. And it's probably more the case that our experiences and traumas and the journey in life trained us away from those naturally arising qualities. And so I'd offer that as a beginning to recognize that hope and encouragement and kindness, they're naturally arising in all of us. And it is with that that I'd like to begin by simply asking you, what comes alive for you when you hear the phrase, the human as a fountain of encouragement and hope? And please feel free to take a sentence or two to introduce yourself or whatever you want to say about yourself as you step into your response of the human as a fountain of encouragement and hope. What comes alive for you when you hear the phrase, the human as a fountain of encouragement and hope? Please, Trevor.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Trevor Nguyen. I'm English by birth, although I've spent more years living in other countries than in England. I'm very pleased to talk about encouragement and hope because, as you said, I think it is absolutely natural for one human to encourage another and to be hopeful to another. I've found all my life that encouragement is something that's naturally, something that I've naturally wanted to do. I don't know why. I feel it is something I can do, and I wonder about it. I feel it's an instinct. I feel it's a natural desire for one human being to give of itself to another human being, the benefit of its life. And it's a very powerful thing. I love the fact that I'm able to encourage young life in particular. I love the fact of young life, even with a sign to say, you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Just grow and be yourself and play in this wonderful kingdom that you now live in. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to condemn you. I only want your life to flourish. That is how it has been with me ever since the age of 14. And if I'm able to do anything, then I know that I can do that. And when my life is finished, then I shall be pleased to have done it. It's very simple. Hope is another thing. Hope is something that I'm actually working with, that I want to be able to radiate more into the world, a difficult world. And so that is how I feel and respond to your opening statement. And I'm pleased to be a part in its emergence amongst all human beings.
Thank you. Thank you, Trevor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Perry Martin. I come from the United States by birth and now reside in the state of Florida. And it's interesting, Trevor, you're talking about an instinct. And I say it for me, I put the word help when thinking of hope. Hope to me comes to me as like a calling for something that's needed. And it caused me to think of something that happened this past week around my home. There were these two dogs, lovely dogs, collars. They had their medallion, obviously taken well care of. And they were loose, running down the street, exploring, unaware that there's a major highway about 100 feet in front of where they're heading. So I'm in my car and I just start following them with the hope that they will find their way back home. Of course, they don't really find their way back home, so I keep following them. And then the neighbor from Canada down the street, she sees what I'm doing and we start talking about the dogs. Someone else gathers around and we're trying to find out where they live. Does anybody have a clue? And it was just a natural arising that you feel riveted in not leaving until you know the situation is safe and things are okay. And you don't think about it. It just arises in you, like you were talking about, an instinct. And I find that this has been a true thing for my whole life. When I was a very young boy, and I saw a bee that looked like he was having stress. I didn't know anything about bees. I think it's one of my oldest memories. I think I was 2.5 years old. And I picked up the bee to see if I could help it. Of course, I learned another lesson: you shouldn't pick up bees, as I got my first stinger. But it doesn't determine you anyways. I think each of you that are watching this can go back over your lives and find all these instances where something happened and you could not stop to add assistance. And I think that's a great hope in the world, that there's this natural desire in human beings to help each other, and hope that we will be well and safe. And alongside of that is that encouragement to, I know of how many people in my life have stopped to help me with something I didn't know what I was doing. This point of encouragement is and imagine what it would be like if you were in a place and there was a car accident and someone stumbled out of the car and you walked away. And the horror when you see that this actually does happen at times. And you realize that it must be a basic function of our humanity. We have these two wonderful essences at play in our lives. It has to be put in us on purpose. If I can pass the book here.
Thank you. Please, Miriam.
Hello, my name is Miriam Abrahamson. I live in Israel and I'm a teacher. I'm an art teacher and also a teacher's teacher. What has been striking to me actually is that I find that both hope and encouragement are something that need to be worked upon. Although I totally agree that it is a natural arising in a human being, I think today it's not always very accessible. And specifically, I'll speak about hope because I was talking to my son who's in the army at the moment, and we were talking about the situation with Iran. And I asked him, so what's the hope? He says, I don't know. And then I realized that hope is a choice. Mm-hmm. Hope is something that I find myself many times, and also in the area of encouragement and specifically self-encouragement, something that I find really important, how to teach myself and how to teach children, how to encourage themselves, because being dependent on encouragement from an outside source can be very dangerous. I don't want to use the word dangerous, but it can turn into a dependency, which is not a good idea. So I just realized that building hope means that you're building a home for something that you have no idea how it can happen, but still to prepare for when it does happen. And I heard a really nice sentence in that context, which was, make up your mind and let reality catch up. And I think it's a great sentence, but I really think it is in the context of hope. Because if you keep having hope, then when that change does happen, you'll be ready for it. You'll be ready to embrace it. You'll be ready to be active within it. So that's what I'll say at this point.
Yeah, thank you. Beautiful. And we will want to explore further and more about the teacher perspective. One thing that occurs to me immediately with the importance of encouraging and teaching earlier in life people to learn to, children to learn to encourage themselves, is that one of the most powerful way to encourage yourself is to encourage somebody else. Because when you do, you actually bring up your best and you promote it in others. And so the teaching and the discovery of that in earlier age can be very powerful. So other voices, please, on still What comes alive for you when you hear the phrase, the human is a fountain of encouragement and hope? Please, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Marcus, and I live in the United States. And since I heard from you, Aviv, about this subject, I've been thinking about it quite a bit. And the first thing that came to me is there is no future without hope. We can't step into our tomorrows. Hope is what leads us into our tomorrows. Always hoping, because if we are trying to grow and expand and as a human race evolve, how can we without hope? And I was thinking, this came to my mind, this thought, and there is hope beyond hope. And what does that actually mean? What is the hope beyond hope? And it's everything, because it's the promise. It's the promise of our tomorrow. That's how I think about hope. And I used to do quite a bit of work with people in rehabilitation, drug and alcohol addiction. And one thing that I found was that those people that could cure themselves or could overcome addiction were only those people that had hope. Because we know in that space, a lot of people go through addiction ratification, but they can't hold it. And that's the problem. But those people that could stay with it and really move beyond their addictions were those people I found that had hope. And most of them, and I think you find this in a lot of places, were working with other people, encouraging them to find their hope and to find their health. And I think that's what you said. It's when you encourage someone else, you encourage yourself. And one other thing I would say about encouragement, and you said this, Miriam, about self-encouragement. In thinking about this, I realized I'm very good at encouraging others. And I spend a lot of time doing that. But I don't really know how I encourage myself. I don't have a plan or a thought. I don't think about it, actually. So this is a wonderful subject to try to open that up. And yes, encouraging other people does encourage my life, but what are those steps that I could put in place to encourage myself in those times when it's needed? So that's what I put in for now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Please, Karen.
Hello, I'm Karen from England. And I also have had times in my life when I've been a teacher, and it occurred to me very strongly that a very powerful encouragement of other people, particularly children, is the encouragement that will enable them to find their own voice, their own awareness of their choices, and their own ability to cause that self-encouragement. And it is such a core in trying to think about where encouragement comes from. It's quite elusive, because it's almost a very internal part of the human life, but at the same time it's very neutral. It's very hard to pin down, and it seems in the way that it is something that flows and is accessible. And when sometimes to try to find or get an inroad into something is to think of life without it. And life without encouragement, or a life without hope, is a very singular, isolated affair. And I think that one of the natures of encouragement and hope, and putting the two together at this point, is that it allows a joining. It allows all life not to be isolated. And that is a huge thing. It's a huge thing for humanity. It's huge for our interpersonal relationships, but it's also huge for the world, and it's huge for our place in bigger contexts as well. And I think one of the things coming back to this well, I love the concept of a well, of a fountain. It made me think of a fountain coming from a core place, and it's almost like something about hope is, I've got a few words here, which it's in the spaces of the emergent, silent and unseen. Because when I first started to think about hope, I was looking at everything new. I was looking at the new buds, the new day. And then I thought of the preciousness of human new life. And hope is part of the line of humanity. And it's part of the urge to move forward. That is an opening. So I think I'll stop there because I've covered a few initial prods.
Yes, yes, thank you, Karen. The whole range from seeing hope and encouragement as the breaking out of isolation and loneliness is very potent contemplation, and then seeing those properties as the long line, the permanent line that continues to appear through the human story. So please, George.
Yeah. Good day, everyone. My name is George Gumas. I live in Greece. And I would like to define a part of myself as a parent of two teenage girls, 15 and 17 years old, because if I can think of myself as an encourager and of others, certainly my two girls come into mind many times from their birth in this time now. And it's thinking about hope and encouragement is very peculiar inside myself, because there are moments that are in life of everyone that are difficult. There are difficulties, there are some stop situations. You see other people, you can feel, they feel and see dead ends. And suddenly inside yourself, inside myself, there is something rising up. And when I try to help, this goes rising up, it can translate itself as hope and especially encouragement. And an analogy that came many times to my mind is like the immunity system in the human. I mean, it's not there all the time. And the moment that there is a need, an actual need, a real human need, there is something inside myself that wants, there is an urge to be able to help and encourage the situation, to be able to maintain actually the flow of another's life. Because most of the times, if I can see hope and encouragement are really useful when there is a stop situation and someone can see the way out. And what really strikes me most of the times is that it's the gentleness and this gentle essence of hope and encouragement. It doesn't take much. Maybe it's one phrase. Maybe it's one friendly tap on the shoulder. Maybe it's a very small thing, but maybe have a big result. And in my mind, I have hope and encouragement as qualities, as essences between human interaction that with a small effort, we can bring a great result. And that's really important for me.